me?
What up?
Hold on. Technical difficulties on my end already. Come on, man. Audio. Try it.
You hear me?
Talk to me.
You there? Is it me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. How do I sound?
You sound perfect.
There we go. There we go. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, it's first time in the saddle a little bit for some NASCAR. So trying to get back in the groove. We got a special episode for you. Travis, how are you doing, bud?
Living a dream out here. Lots of basketball, trying to watch some races in between, trying to work on my race car, trying to, you name it, trying to juggle everything.
Planning for a race coming up at the Dags. So, yeah. So, actually, that was right there, LA Knight. So, without further ado, welcome in, everybody. We'll go ahead and start the intro video and get this party started. All right, now we're officially started the 2025 NASCAR season. Travis, the quick question goes to you with the Bowman clash or the Bowman Gray Stadium clash, the clash of Bowman Gray Stadium, however the hell you want to put it, the clash that wasn't in California. What was your overall thoughts moving the race?
I think it was just more presentable, in my opinion. I think you looked at the LA Coliseum. I can't talk either. See, it's just a new show.
You gotta let us into it.
Yeah. Well, I think you just look at the overall perspective of like an overhead view. Bowman might not have as many fans. I didn't really pay attention to that too much, but it just looked more packed and people were filled. You go to LA Coliseum and you're like, oh god, like there's no one there. I don't know how big the fan difference was, in my opinion, but I thought that was really cool to see everything just packed. I thought your typical Bowman Gray fans came out. You had people flipping the bird. You had people cussing. You had people irate at different stuff. You had a lot of beating and banging. You had a lot of cool stuff like that. I don't remember that at the LA Coliseum as much. I don't know if it's just because of the name or whatever, but you had stuff like that. I think it was just I thought NASCAR maybe thought it was just a one-time deal, but I think it's something that can be coming back. And I think they're gonna have to figure out a couple things, right? They're gonna have to figure out, they had to park cars over at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then they had to bring cars back over, and then I feel like they didn't have enough room. So I think, since NASCAR owns the place, they might be trying to fix some stuff around there that makes it a little bit easier for the teams.
Yeah, I think it looked more like a NASCAR race, if we're all being, truthful. It holds 17,000 people. Like you said, 17,000 people in the LA Coliseum. Looks a lot different than 17,000 people in a 17,000 seated stadium. I thought that, like you said, aesthetically, it looked great. I thought that the racing actually was pretty solid. The tire wear, we saw a little bit of that. So that was fun. We saw just some beating and banging a little bit more than I thought. I wish that we could have somehow, some way, without it being too crazy, the heat races be represented in the same way that the overall race and the last chance qualifier, because they were a lot more aggressive then. But, we saw a car that started last get all the way up to second, and a car that started first pretty much stay first. So, I mean, I don't know what more you can ask for besides that.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's typical Ryan Blaney on a short track, right? It's not very hot, but all of a sudden, he's going to be there at the end. So
if you don't have banking and it's a short track, Ryan Blaney, I'll be there.
Yeah. So I think and like you said, I think you just look at if I go back to the dirt racing aspect of things, hot laps, not a lot of action, heat race, people kind of get strung out a little bit. There's not a whole lot of crashing. If there is,
If it is, it's Justin Haley.
Yeah. You usually just get told to get off the track, and then when you get to the last chance qualifier, the B main, what dirt track people call it. You got a lot of beating and banging, right? And then you got people wanting to make the show, and I think that's what we saw. And you get the feature kind of calms down. You got some cautions here and there, but for the most part, it worked itself out.
Yeah, I am too, Zach. It reminded us a little bit of what everything NASCAR was before the next gen car on a short track, because we actually saw some people have to bump to move. People got a little bit out of shape. You saw, like, in the very first heat race, Austin Dillon brings out the caution by hitting a storm drain, which you don't hear that very often. A car bringing out a caution from hitting a storm drain. I mean, it showed a little bit of everything, or comers and goers, especially in that first 100 laps. Whatever they did to Elliott's car, it did not fall off nearly as much there in the second 100 laps. But I don't know. I mean, for a clash to be in your backyard, to not have to worry about tearing up cars like you would have at Daytona, to not have to worry about taking them all the way across the country like you would have had at in California, I couldn't have been more happy for what we saw. It was definitely a good little appetizer to get NASCAR racing back. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Zach, for joining us. John Forrester already here. Appreciate you, buddy. Good to see you again. John rooting on JGR now, because he does not have – I guess he could continue to root on his one driver for the Haas Factory team. We are live on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and we are now also live streaming on the Rumble. So thank you guys all for joining in, whether you're catching us live or you're catching us on a replay. But I wanted to kick it off with something in your wheelhouse, Travis. We are starting with the preview of Hendrick Motorsports. Last year, I would say that we had a good year for Hendrick Motorsports until the very, very end. I don't think any year is a good year for HMS unless it comes with a trophy. And it's been a little bit since we saw that. It's been a few years now. So your driver was the last to do it. We're going to do an analogy for each driver. So bear with us. This is going to be fun. I hope you guys enjoy it. And we'll kick it off with what I believe is the perceived order and the way these guys finished from a power ranking standpoint. So I'm not going to look at last year's rankings because the Final Four kind of throws things off. So I will start off with Kyle Larson, and I will compare him to Bird Dog Whiskey. Now, if you know me, I love a nice caramel Bird Dog Whiskey. My friend Zach likes a nice caramel Bird Dog Whiskey. Everything is great about caramel Bird Dog Whiskey until it's not. Caramel Bird Dog Whiskey kind of can bite you right when you're having fun, right when you're enjoying life, everything's great, and then all of a sudden that headache comes, the next morning comes, and you're sitting there going, what the hell just happened? And unfortunately with Kyle Larson, there's so many times I'm enjoying watching him race. I'm enjoying watching him do everything he can. It's almost perfect until it's not. And I just get that bad hangover the next day. I'm on Monday going, what the hell happened? He was leading, he was dominant until he wasn't. And so Kyle Larson to me is Bird Dog Caramel Whiskey.
That's a good one. I'm and honestly, like we showed these to each other. You might have saw mine, but I think we're both gonna have surprising explanation of why we went the way we did.
So what is Kyle Larson to you?
Well, I think he's like the 2017 Atlanta Falcons.
Oh boy. I don't think Atlanta's ever recovered from this.
No. So, if we remember back in that Super Bowl in 2017, they were leading 28-3 through what? Almost the third quarter.
Almost.
And then all of a sudden, they got complacent. I see Kyle Larson a lot of times just kind of gets complacent. And the next thing you know, people start chipping at him a little bit, getting a little closer to the point that somehow he finds himself out of the lead. And then, the lead goes through the fingertips, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, he didn't win the race after leading the most laps, doing everything right in the race / game. And then he's out, right? And then you're sitting there like you just said on Monday going, how in the world did he not win that race? And I could think of about 15 races in the last 2 to 3 years that I'm like, how did he not win that race or compete? And that could be from a series of crashes to bad pit call to bad caution. I think you look back at that Super Bowl game where you're like, wow, the only flag here would change it, or this catch here, or things like that. And you're like, how did the Patriots win that game? And then you watch the game back and you're like, oh, I see why they lost now.
Yeah, I like that. I think that he at least has more rings than the Atlanta Falcons. So I mean that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That is, but I think very, very comparable.
I think that's perfect though. We both have that the next day analogy going. What the hell went wrong?
Yeah,
what the hell went wrong?
And I'm sitting here going, like, you can come up with a lot of things, right? I had it in my mind like Michael Jordan or LeBron, or you have Tom Brady. You can compare it to a lot of the you consider the GOATs, but I think you had to play in the standpoint of, okay, you can't play that card just yet, right? You had to go to the card that's like, okay, what is he really compared to? And like both of us, I thought comparing pretty well.
So next we'll move on to William Byron, who I will compare to Black Cat Fireworks. Man, that picture looked a lot better before I put it on there. Black Cat Fireworks, if you don't know and you've never shot one of those things, it is really, really fun for a very, very short amount of time. Last year, William Byron, coming out the gate, looked like the greatest NASCAR driver in NASCAR. He looked like he was carrying over with the next gen era. And to me, as quickly as he was there to be the top of the mountain, gone. It entire summer of nothing. Literally trying to stay on the lead lap more often than not. I remember so many times it never felt like it was his own doing, but he just got caught up in things. You're looking for that reason to anoint William Byron as the best driver in the sport, and it never happened. That fun that we had at the beginning of the year, winning those 3 races, and I think before April, it just all disappeared. And I think we're starting to see a trend that this tracks suit William Byron very, very early, but he's never able to sustain. So he's not like the Roman candle. He's not the grand finale. To me, he's just a quick little Black Cat firework, and unfortunately, it burns way too quick.
Mm-hmm. We talk about that too. And I think you look at some of his early success. In 2021 at Daytona, that was kind of mid-season, but you look at his win in 2021. That was early at Homestead, right? He won it very early, but then where was he after that? 2022, he won some early races. I'm trying to think. I think he won at Texas later on that year. But other than that, like his wins were early. 2023, some early again, and especially last year in 2024, we won those races. He made the playoffs, but it's like, where, whatever, and like you said, I was gonna kind of compare him. You said, quick and fun, at early, but that's kind of compared to my love life. But that's Zach said in high school, right?
Yeah. Zach peaked very early, and it's unfortunate, except that he locked up his woman, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yep.
So what do you compare William Byron to?
I said he was like a third wheel on a date or like in a group chat. We got the third wheel right there.
That eerily looks like Carson Hocevar. I'm not going to lie to you. When I picked up that picture, I was like, man, that kind of looks like Carson Hocevar, so we'll stick with it.
But people around him that like him, right?
So why is William Byron like the third wheel of the date?
I think he's a guy that is talented, who tries to fit in, but just doesn't quite fit in, right? So he's a guy that, in the group chat, you're texting, right? You're saying, oh, like, this is funny, blah, blah, blah. And then, William's going to probably put something in that group chat and everyone just likes it. Like no one really responds to it, right? And I think you look at him in the races, right? Like, oh, like super talented, oh, he wins races, and everyone's like, whatever. Like cool, move on.
Yeah.
Like that. And I think that's what we look at. You're looking at William Byron, as bad as we want him to be a star, he's not the needle. Like he's not the needle that's just gonna push NASCAR over. He wins, like, super talented, right? But we'll like and move on. Like he's not the needle. But for say like Elliott, Kyle Larson, they win, needle moves, right? Denny Hamlin wins as much as you want to say it. The needle's going to move a little bit because a lot of people don't like Denny Hamlin, but that's kind of what I've said. He's going to be the guy in the group chat or the third wheel that is going to be just a little bit of it's going to be a little annoying because he's probably got some talent or he's proven some good points, but he's just going to be the guy that has the good comeback in the group chat and people's just going to like it instead of replying back to it.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm trying to find. Let me find this one video.
Yeah. And while you're finding that, I think you think of it this way: like you think about in the old NASCAR series when they came out with everything. Everyone's talking about going to these movies and they're drinking and stuff, and he's there building a damn Lego set. Like I think that's what I think of. Like everyone's doing all this other stuff, and he's like, I like to build Legos. That's what I like to do in my free time. You're like,
here was a video that I made. This might have been before I even knew you, Travis. I'm trying to think of when this was. It was over a year ago.
Well, we might be for 2.5 years, but
yeah, I'm trying to think. But it says William Byron wins and NASCAR fans lose. The actual heading of the video was William Byron wins and nobody cares. So to kind of go with your thing, because it's not just, you're right, he don't move the needle. Yeah. And that's not a slight on him. He just has no personality to be the leader of the sport as good as he has been, because the things that he's accomplished. When we do these shows, when we do the post-race reports, it's flat. I mean, it's just not a lot there compared to, say the guy that we just talked about before in Kyle Larson. Somebody that has moved the needle not nearly as much as what his fans have hoped for is Chase Elliott. And I compare Chase Elliott to Creed. Creed had a comeback tour. And as much as I like Creed, I think people will think about Creed and think, man, they're having a comeback tour. They're selling out arenas. But when you listen to Creed, they really only have like 2 or 3 hits.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now, Chase Elliott's Creed. He dominated the Clash. He's shown a little bit of promise. Everybody's kind of jumping on that bandwagon. Is Chase back? Is Chase back? And he's going to give you a couple hits this year. He might give you a couple wins, but he's not what he once was. You're going to go to the concert. You're going to have that nostalgia that he's going to be that all-time great that you saw in the Gen 6 car that won a championship, that won 6 races. And he's not that. He's just not that anymore. Now, he may still win most popular driver. If you are a Travis Butt or a Joe Spillman, you will give an asterisk to that, as he has now won that 7 consecutive times. But he still, as a driver, has not won me over as somebody that deserves the praise and deserves all the things that he's been willing to get, because, again, he's one of those guys that have been anointed to the top of the mountain in terms of NASCAR, both popularity and even a lot of racecraft, but he's done nothing to prove that he deserves to be there, besides being just a really solid driver and a good guy, but again, a non-needle mover, which is unfortunately what HMS has a lot of.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's actually, it was funny because I was actually going to maybe do Nickelback, but then I was like,
whoa, we don't shit on Nickelback on this channel. We do not hate on Nickelback on this.
I love Nickelback, so I was like, I can't hate on Nickelback. I think I can compare some other ones other than Nickelback, but it's funny you said Creed, because I was like, oh, you know what? You're kind of right about that. I love Creed, but it's like, maybe they only got a couple good songs.
Yeah. With Arms Wide Open,
Arms Wide Open.
Yeah. 6 feet from the edge. I'm following. You got a couple good songs. That's about it.
Yeah.
So what are you comparing Chase Elliott to?
I got Chase to someone that their dad owns the business. So like a kid's dad who owns the business, like Michael Scott here, like Michael Scott. And this is where I'm connected. You know, he has the fan base who kind of got gifted to. He's got the connections. He's got the resources. But in the end, the employees are the ones that do all the work. So what I mean by that is you got Chase Elliott, who has the fan base, who was kind of gifted to him by his dad. You know, would he be that popular if his dad wasn't Bill Elliott? No, right? He's got the resources, HMS. He has everything, but I think the employees, aka Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, William Byron, are the ones who do all the dirty work. I think you look at last year, who did all the dirty work on wins. You know, Alex Bowman only had one, same as Chase Elliott, but you had Kyle Larson having 6 wins. You had William. I think years prior, I think you see the social media side of things where you see Alex Bowman, William Byron, Kyle Larson kind of being more of the social media presence. I think the personality of Chase Elliott, which maybe we just don't see, but I don't see much of a personality per se. So I kind of just compare him to a kid whose dad owns a business and kind of takes the credit, you know, kind of gets the reward of it. But in the end, the employees are the one that do all the dirty work.
What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's going on?
We're comparing people. You're here.
I know. I was watching.
Okay.
I ran in here to get ready when I heard the third deal, or the third wheel deal going on with William Byron, and I figured, hey, that's me. I'm going to jump in and ruin this fucking party. So here I am.
All right. So, I know it's right off the top as soon as you got here. Do you have a comparison yourself for Mr. Chase Elliott?
Oh yeah.
You don't get a pretty graphic like we do, but
yeah,
that's your fault.
Yeah. So you know there are these people in adult videos called the fluffer. I'm just kidding. I'm just making Travis uncomfortable.
I can even cut the string. Cut the string.
Now. So when we're talking about a comparison for Chase Elliott, I think he's probably just like the cool kid that walks into the playground and like he wearing like the leather jacket with his hair spiked, and everybody knows who he is. Like Johnny Bravo, like you know who I am. I don't even have to talk.
Yeah.
Why is he like Johnny Bravo? You got explain more to me.
I don't know because I'm 40 and I used to watch that cartoon, and that's the best.
I know
that's
Johnny
the best
Bravo
I could come up with on the spot. I don't have any idea.
No, I think that is like he comes in and he knows he's the most popular, and I think he has a he's very complacent, knowing that he's the head honcho, and he knows that no matter what he does. I mean, think about it. He got suspended 2 years ago for wrecking. Now he wrecked the most probably hated guy in NASCAR right now, right? But you know, he kind of got put on a different pedestal when it all happened.
Yeah. So and he HMS actually kind of helped make a new rule this year. You know, you got a driver suspended, and then they give him a playoff waiver. You got a driver not show up, and they give him a playoff waiver. So now, with this new rule, if you do not complete all of the races, not due to injury, you can get into the playoffs, but you get no points.
Yeah.
So that'll be something that we talk about. That the HMS drivers had gifted us a new rule based upon what's happened here recently. So the last driver for Hendrick Motorsports, and hopefully, Zach, you like this, is Alex Bowman. I decided to go with the famous meme right here of Dwight getting scared. And that's because I think Alex Bowman is quietly going to sneak up on us, and we're going to realize that, oh my God, he's in the top 10. And he put together a season last year at the end of it by winning and then being so consistent that he probably could have made the round of 8, if not being disqualified for something that he had nothing to do of at the Charlotte Roval.
Car being light.
So I feel like Alex Bowman figured something out. He got healthy. I think that's number one. He got healthy and showed that he can be a consistent driver. He held off a really, really good Tyler Reddick to win the Chicago Street race. It's not like he, lucked into it or anything like that. And then with somebody just getting top 5, top 5, top 5, top 10, and that's what you have to have at the end of the year. So I think Alex Bowman, who was a driver we were talking about racing for his job, put all that pressure behind him and show that he could be a good driver. I think he built upon that and has a really good year this year and kind of surprises us a little bit.
I like that. I mean, I agree. Like, you think about that. I think about that a lot of times. I think you even think about the year he got injured, right? I think, what was that, 2022, 2023, he got injured. He was leading the points, and then he got injured and had to come out. I think last year he was still top 5, top 8 in the points. He's just getting a bunch of top 5s, and then
remember we did a show and he had the most top 10s in NASCAR.
I think
it just kind of came out of nowhere.
But didn't we do the thing like, who do you think has more top 10s? And then we're like, oh, like Alex Bowman don't have that. And like, no, he actually leads the
entire NASCAR. Yeah.
No. So I agree with that.
So what do you compare him as? Because I feel like this analogy doesn't compare him as something you agree with.
Yeah, so I think he's like a puppy with 3 legs. Now, we could have used a better picture, right, on this.
I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Wishbone. If we're going back to Johnny Bravo, this reminds me of Wishbone.
Oh, jeez.
I actually had a dog in a wheelchair with 3 legs, but I decided to go with that one.
So hear me out, though.
I'm listening.
So when we see a dog with 3 legs, we coddle them, right? We're like, oh, we're rooting for them. We're want to know what their backstory is. I mean, you want to know why he got in a position. Like, what happened to his leg? I think Alex Bowman's the same way. Like, how did he get this position? Like, he was driving for BK Racing, Tommy Baldwin Racing. He was racing for all this stuff. And then he sits out a year, then bam, he's in there. When he's struggling, you're still rooting for him. You're never going to root against Alex Bowman. So you're always rooting for him. He'll be struggling. And then when he does well, it's a very happy story in the end. And everyone cheers for him and everyone's happy and no one's mad. And, it's end up being a good story.
Just Alex Bowman is a pity party, is what you're saying.
Hey, yes. Think about when he won the Charlotte Roval. It wasn't hated. It was actually one of the more compelling stories. Hey, but you got to think about it. It was a compelling story because he was a big talk about losing his ride to Justin Haley and Hocevar and all these people, right? And then he won, and it was like he saved his job. Like, we're cheering for him. We're behind his Alex Bowman train. And think about at the Charlotte Roval. This happened to me, his light, and then everyone felt sorry for him. Like, oh, it wasn't his fault. Like, his team is the one that let him down. Like, how did they do this? How did they miscalculate this? And we felt sorry for him. And then you're still like rooting for him because you're like, all right, you can get to the next round. Just go win the next race and get to the next round. And so you're cheering for him. That is why I think it's he's a guy that is like a puppy with 3 legs that no matter what happens, you're going to cheer for him. And then when he really exceeds, everyone's happy.
Who coddles a 3-legged dog?
Hey, those are the happiest dogs. Have you ever seen a 3-legged dog like upset?
I haven't seen a lot of 3-legged dogs, but I do get your point with
every 3-legged dog I've ever known was named Lucky.
After the fact. Yeah. I would say that, he definitely had a lot more remorse in his corner compared to when Denny Hamlin lost all of his pretty much all of his points because of something Toyota did that nothing was the fault of Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin just got shit on the entire time. And that could have cost Denny Hamlin a Final Four trip because of that.
Yep. So let's Hey, I thought it was a hell of an analogy for the sake of Like,
I get it. I get it.
come on now. Now hold on. I said I know I said in the group chat that I could have came up with a lot worse things that I couldn't say on air. I think I would lose my job over them. But there was a lot of analogies that went through my head. Alex Bowman was the first one I thought of. Now I had 3 other ones before this three-leg dog one named Lucky, but I came up. I was a good boy and decided to go a different way.
That's Alex Bowman's nickname for the rest of the year, Lucky.
Well,
Bowman,
Joe compared Chase Elliott to a fluffer in a porno, so I don't think he has the same restrictions when it comes to worrying about his job. So, Joe, when you think of Alex Bowman,
I had to be.
I'm gonna sum Alex Bowman up in a meme. I did this on the fly, but I think it's perfect. So I'm gonna share this with you right now.
All right, I'm here. Okay.
How do we take? Yeah, there we go.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa. Let me stop sharing that. There we. Oh.
No.
Now
there we go.
You guys are getting paid.
All right, explain it to me.
Oh, I just feel like that's where he's at Hendrick. Like, you know, when you talk about Elliott, I mean, I know he's getting paid, but when you talk about Elliott, Byron, Larson, I feel like those are the superstars of the sport. And you know, Bowman won Chicago last year, and he was like kind of the forgotten about driver. Like, hey, I'm still here, guys. And you know, I think really when you talk about a third wheel, I think he's probably more the third wheel at Hendrick than anybody else. I think so. I think that meme just kind of sums him up. Like, you know, Larson's saying, "Hey, I'm doing this." You know, Elliott's most popular driver. Byron's like, "Hey, nobody likes me, but I'm good." And Bowman's just like, "Hey, I'm here too." So that's kind of where I'm at with him.
I get that. Yeah. I think that there's definitely a step off. And I mean, you think about where William Byron's been his entire career, where Chase Elliott's been, what Kyle Larson's done to get to that point. I agree. Like it's kind of like we're all agreeing. You know, Joe and we're both kind of saying like this guy was forgot about. Travis, you're like this guy came out of nowhere to get the position that he's in. It almost if Alex Bowman doesn't have motivation, that's an Alex Bowman fault. Because there's so many people that quietly do not think he believes in last year, not quietly, don't believe he is the 4th HMS driver. That there's way too many talent. You know, like you said, we on here talking about Justin Haley. Does he deserve to be at HMS? Does Kyle Busch, if his contract runs out at the end of the year, does he believe to be at HMS? Well, Alex Bowman won a race last year, and that's more than Kyle Busch and Justin Haley have done in the past 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see what he does this year. Does he continue with the momentum that he had at the end of the year, or does he continue to have fans and especially haters go, why in the hell is Dale Jr.'s anointed one still at HMS? I mean, what are we talking about? 7 years later?
No, so he was there at 2018. So 2018, so about coming up on year 7.
Yeah. I don't think I can post that, Zach. I know DEI and everything is being eliminated, but I don't think I can share that one.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
In the chat, you can see it in the chat below. We can't post it to the screen.
Yeah.
We are not affiliated.
All right. So now we'll look at this group as a whole. Does all 4 drivers make it to the playoffs this year?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I think you look at Chase starting off to a good start. I think Byron's going to do his usual stuff where he wins a little bit early. I think you got Alex, who is coming off some momentum and, you know, didn't run that bad at the end of the year. I think they kind of built some momentum. I think he needed some confidence back, right? So he struggled there from his back injury and concussions. I think he just needed some confidence back. I think getting that win, I know he didn't win a lot of other places, but I think he just needs some confidence. And I think Larson's going to do his Larson thing, right? He's going to dominate some races and lose. He's going to piss his fans off because it's whatever. And I think you got you need to look at and he's going to get just a couple wins here and there. So I think all four make it. I don't think why not. I think you compare it to all the other teams who's kind of, in my opinion, got new drivers, got new crew chiefs, got other stuff. Hendrick might be the only one that didn't really change, right? I think. I mean, what other teams didn't change over the offseason?
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean,
Hendricks is the only team there besides who? Like Carl Long? Like who? Who else?
I honest to God, I can't think of a single team that
House
didn't
got a
change.
new driver. Roush Fenway added a new car. You have JGR that got a new driver.
New driver. Chris Gabehart left, and
you got
Bubba Wallace's crew chief left. He,
Yep.
He's now
and
in
they
the
got a
front
new
office.
driver too. And they added Spire added another car and got a couple new drivers. You have, I mean, Rick Rare lost, whatever. I know they're not really big, but I mean, they lost. They only got one car. So I mean, Stuart Haas down to one car when they went from 4. So I mean, Hendrick was technically the only one that didn't change. So I think Hendrick's going to have to come out strong. Some of these other teams are going to come out a little weak because they got to make adjustments. And then, what that comes from there. So I think Hendrick's going to come out strong. If they come out strong, they'll have all 4 drivers in the playoffs with ease.
What do you say, Joe?
I can't just. I'm trying to find some contention with Travis for the sanctity of the show here, and I really can't find any contention with anything he just said. So I think I think his analysis is pretty spot on.
No, I agree 100% as well. So, the next question, and I'll give this to you, Joe. If HMS doesn't have a championship in his trophy case this year, is it a failed year?
Man, no, I won't say it's a failure because really, at the end of the day, it comes down to one race at the end of the year, and as you know, anything can happen in those races. Certainly, if we're talking about if they have 2 drivers in the championship 4 and don't come out with a championship, I think that's a successful season. If they got 3 drivers in the second to last round, I think that's a successful season. So I can't say that not having it when you talk about all the variables in motorsports and it comes down to a single race, which I think we talked about in length last year on a show about whether or not the current playoff system is truly crowning a champion of the season, the most consistent driver, the best team. And I think we were all kind of in agreement that that's not the case when, you come down. Yeah, you have to survive and advance to make it to that championship round. But when it comes down to one race, anything can happen. I mean, there could be a pile up on turn 1 and all championship cars could be taken out. So, I think winning a championship's the goal, but I don't think if you have a successful season and 3 of your 4 drivers are in the top 10 in points and everybody makes the playoffs and you have 2 or 3 drivers go deep in the playoffs and possibly make the championship round, I think that's a successful season for HMS. So I wouldn't say that at the end of the day, if you don't have a championship trophy, yeah, sure, that's a disappointment, but I can't say that would be an unsuccessful season.
Travis?
I think you got HMS, I think, holds himself to a high standard. And I think it's for good measure, right? I think they had a few years in the first next-gen car that I feel like they were a little lax. Chase Elliott kind of missed it to 1 year because of injuries. So did Alex Bowman. I feel like Larson last year not getting it kind of stung a little bit. I think William Byron kind of struggling at the end of the year, kind of hurt some. I think HMS has got to go in the year thinking, we've been good. Just where do we got to get better at than Penske in the the next gen car, right? So in the championship and everything. So I think it's never a great season if you don't win the championship. I mean, you can have a perfect season, and if you don't win the championship, I mean, it's not a it's not a failure, but it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, especially since you got all the resources in the world. So I agree with Joe to a certain degree, but I think always the end goal, like why, as Tiger Woods would say, if you're not going to go there to go win a championship, what's the point of competing, right? So if they're not going to be there and think that's the end goal, then why be there? So I think either way, it's championship or die. They're over 3 in the next gen car. They won back to back in the Gen 6. What does that look like? So long way to go, and I think it's championship or not. Failure season. If it's no championship, win a championship, great season.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think, unfortunately, it's a very convenient excuse to not win a championship when it comes down to one race. And if you don't win a championship because of the one race playoff that we have, and like you said, Joe, if you get 2 cars in there and you got a 50% chance of winning and you don't win it because that car was better than you that one day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I still think if you don't win a championship at HMS and at JGR, it's a failure of a year. But it doesn't sting as bad.
Yep.
Like if you win the regular season champion, if you have the regular season champion, if Kyle Larson decides he wants to be that this year and go to Charlotte Motor Speedway instead of Indy, then you can look at that and say we did everything that we possibly could to put ourselves in the position based upon race after race after race to win that. But if it comes down to one day, shit happens in this sport, man. Like you said, Joe, there's no guarantee that you hit everything right in the champion. I mean, for God's sakes, Joey Logano failed inspection twice on the championship race. Like, Joey Logano is the ultimate factor to prove that one race giving your championship does not give any credence to what you did the entire year. So
I think all 3 years of the next gen, right?
I would say Ryan Blaney's dominant run in the playoffs is something that we've seen in other sports. Like the San Francisco Giants may have not been the best team in baseball, but by God, when they got to the champions, the playoffs, they ran through them.
Yeah.
You could say the same thing maybe in basketball to the Yukon Huskies with Kimball Walker back in the day.
What was that? 07 when the Giants took down the Patriots? Or was that 09?
That was 07.
When they took down, I mean, they had to beat the Patriots in the regular season.
Were undefeated.
Yeah, they had to beat the Patriots in the regular season to get into the playoffs, and then they beat them in the Super Bowl. So,
it's just I do think that only 2 organizations go. If we don't have a trophy case, the big one at the end of the season, then it wasn't really a great year for us. And that's to the credit of what they've done their entire history. Yeah. When you're going to Martinsville and celebrating, and us non-HMS fans have to watch these assholes in red shirts for the entire 500 laps because Martinsville is such a terrible race now because of what you've accomplished by, what was it, their 200, 300, 400, fucking 1,000th win. I don't know what it was, but I just remember watching that race going, Jesus Christ, I don't want to see this.
It was the 40th year.
I have high hopes.
Oh, that's right, the 40th year, because we need to know what years they've been in NASCAR.
I have high hopes for Martinsville this year, but that's a topic for another day.
Hey, the fall race wasn't terrible.
No, it was terrible. It's a lot better when people allow to ride the wall.
Hey,
that's for damn sure.
I got one. I got one for you guys.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to give you some over-unders. And you're going to tell me more wins or below wins. I'm going to give you guys their like the run line for the season. This does not include dual race, and this doesn't include the All-Star race.
Yeah, actual wins. I got
actual account.
Not getting a die cast because of the freaking Clash, Chase Elliott fans.
Okay. Okay. Kyle Larson. I'm going to make it a sucker bet. Over under 5.5 wins this season.
Oh man!
What?
I was hoping you'd say 4.5.
5.5 is a sucker bet. Under over.
Go ahead, Joe. You're Kyle Larson.
I got to take the under on that.
Okay. He won 6. He's
I know.
he won about 10 last
6
year.
is an incredible season, right? So
I agree.
In the next gen, yes, but you got to think about like last year, he probably should have won 12 races. That's just 11 races.
Well, he should have. But what was the year that he won 4 in a row? How many did he win that year? What's his all time high?
10.
2020. Yeah, because he won like 5 in a row that year, didn't he?
Now, given he should have maybe 8, right? I think you look at Darlington, you look at Iowa, you look at I can name some Homestead. I mean, there's like 4 right there, right?
Man, I don't know.
You got Ryan above or below?
I feel like 6 is the limit in the next gen car. So I was hoping that you would say 4.5, and I could say yes, 5. If you put it 5.5, I'm still taking 5 and taking the under.
Okay.
What are you taking?
I think they're going to come back as consistent, right? And they didn't run bad. They had a couple of bad races. I'm going to take the over because I'm a Kyle Larson guy, so I got to take the over, right? And I think here's my only explanation for that, right? I think you look at 2023, he won 4, should have maybe won a couple more. Last year, he had 3 or 4 races in there where he just dominated and just didn't win, and that's where we always had the discussion. I think he might this year might just get a puke win is what I'm going to call it. He just gets one, and he might just get it in a different Kyle Larson fashion. So I think I'm going to go with the over. I think he's on a run of won the Chili Bowl. I didn't think he looked that bad. I didn't think he looked that good in the Clash, but he's not a short track guy anyways.
He is a short guy. I can confirm.
He is a short guy. All right. Next one. Alex Bowman, 1.5.
I'll take the over.
Okay.
I'll take 2.
I'm taking the over. I was going to take the over.
I'll take 2 right at the over.
Yeah. He's going to win more than 1 race this year for sure.
Okay. Okay. I got William Byron at 2.5 as well. I got him at 2.5.
I'm taking the over on that. That's easy.
I think it's a sucker bet. I think you look at him and Rudy Fugle there at the end. I thought they struggled. They didn't win a race in the last 20 races.
But the last 3 seasons he started off wasn't that your analogy, Ryan?
Yeah, Black Cat firework.
Like a Black Cat firework.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to explode really fast, and then there's going to be nothing.
I think if you look at the odds, I think it's plus 150 for the under. And I think it might be a minus 175-ish for the over, right? So it's that weird little line.
He's going to win 3 races.
If you go 3.5,
I would take the under.
Yeah. So I think you got a margin there. And I think the last one, Chase Elliott, I think he's also I've been iffy on this one because you can go a little different ways. I think if you look at the prior years, stuff like that, I am actually going to go with him at 2.5 as well.
I would go under.
What?
I would go under. He hasn't won 2 races in 4 years?
2023 he won 0. Last year he won 1. 2022 he won 5.
The thing with Chase is that I think he's good enough to be competitive, but he hasn't shown me that he's good enough to lead. Like, he won Texas last year. Was that the race that he ended up winning?
But Larson dominated that race, right?
Right. And that's what I have to see. Like, I've been more impressed with what to me Chase Elliott's been riding around like Alex Bowman. And if I'm not going to say that Alex Bowman's going to win just 2 races, I'm not going to say that Chase Elliott's going to win 3. So I'm going to say that Chase Elliott will win 2 as well. Now, if you had me pick those courses or those tracks, I have no idea. That's the problem, is I have no idea because I would say that, he's just as likely to win Talladega versus anywhere else. And I didn't have that before. Before I would have said, well, he's going to win a road course. That's not the case anymore. Those days are gone. Like he's top 10 now versus dominating. And outside of that, like, where do you pick him? All the tracks that he's decent at, Kyle Larson's way better. So I'm not picking him over Kyle Larson at those tracks. So I'm going to say 2.
Yeah, I think. And the reason I was going to originally set this at like 1.5, right? I think you base off the last couple of years, 1.5. But I think, the 1.5 would be, plus money, and then the over would be, whatever. But I think if you do it at 2.5, it's a very, I think you get a couple wins, right? But I just don't see him getting that 3, 4, 5 wins. I think he's just going to be the guy that's usually the consistent guy. I think last year he was the most consistent at.
Alex Bowman has a better chance at winning a road course right now than I think Chase Elliott does. I think that's a legit thing. Like Alex Bowman should have won COTA 2 years ago and got annihilated by Ross Chastain on the final lap. He won the Chicago street race. To me, in the next gen car, I think Alex Bowman has a better chance of winning street races or road course races.
Yep. Joe just said hammer the over. Play the hammer.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the over on 2.5. I think he gets at least 3. I think he wins 3 this year.
All right.
Pick me a track where you think he wins. Just give me one track where you think he wins.
I mean, I don't think it's that. I think he can win at any track. I think there's any.
But if you're putting your money on it, what track are you going to put?
He had to pick one track he had to win at.
I know for me, for Kyle Busch, it'd be Talladega. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I would have never said that.
I'm not picking a super speedway. I think everybody that I won't say everybody has an equal chance of winning Talladega or Daytona, but I mean, I think his chances when you talk about any driver are just the same.
I got one. I got one. There's only one choice here.
What?
There's one choice.
He
won the Clash. He won the Clash. He was good at Martinsville in the fall with all the new tire, right? With that new tire to fall off. I think your only choice here would be.
What did he do at Milwaukee?
I don't think he did anything good. I think
that was wasn't that the rain tire change? They ran half to.
No, that's New Hampshire.
Okay, what do you do in New Hampshire?
Run at Milwaukee,
Milwaukee. Blaney ran out of no.
We don't run at Milwaukee.
Yeah, New Hampshire.
Milwaukee. Blaney ran out of gas.
I think they're at Milwaukee on iRacing. That's why I said that.
They are at
Hampshire.
Milwaukee on iRacing. Yes. I'll look it up for you.
New Hampshire. I don't remember what he did.
New Hampshire. No, anything impressive.
It's like don't run it, Milwaukee.
You finished like 12th.
I think it will be a Martinsville style track. I think he does have a good shot to win there. But I also think any given weekend when you talk about Texas or Charlotte or any mile and a half, his odds to win those are as high as anybody's. I think. Where are you putting Bubba?
Bubba over under a half.
I'm going under.
Seriously, I think I'd say
it's his HMS show. I'm just messing around.
Go out there and win 2 races. Now he's got a new crew chief, so Bubba, he doesn't do change very well. I don't think he does change very well. So I think he's either going to get 1 win or he's going to get 0 wins. I don't think he's going to go out. I think he's going to win 2 or 3 races. He's got a teammate who couldn't go out there and win 3 or 4 races, but I don't see Bubba going out there and winning 2 races. I mean, he could. They got the new airspeed, and maybe have some more consistency, and he maybe just needed a different voice. So I don't know. Like, he could. I mean, they're gonna have all the resources. So who says they can't? So,
Ryan, what are you looking up?
Where he finished? I believe he finished 18th. That would be the USA Today 301.
Yeah,
that was the rain race. That's when crazy because we're like, holy crap!
I completely flipped the race because I bet on Chase Briscoe to get a top 5, and he went from like 25th to 3rd. Yeah. So I'll never forget that as long as I live. Over on garage ropes, based upon the guy that we have in office, it will be under on garage ropes. So thank you, Zach, for that habitual line crossing that you are doing here on YouTube, trying to get us canceled. So, guys, I appreciate you joining in. The season is here. We're getting ready. Joe, we're on Rumble now. We're live streaming. Rumble's here. Kick's here. Twitch is here. YouTube's here. You're going to be on the talks because China didn't.
Yeah, I'm on the. We're on the TikToks. We have nightly racing on the TikTok. We need to get Ryan and Travis Butt on the TikTok more.
Never been on it.
Yeah, you have. You just don't know it.
Never willingly and under my own jurisdiction been on it.
TikTok.
Well, you can't. You're going to have to wait till they put it back on the App Store. But we have crossed the major threshold over on TikTok. Stuck in the Catch Fence has. We're at close to 2,000 followers on TikTok. We got a massive we every night that we live stream, we got 1,500 to 2,000 people watching our live streams. We're doing good over on the TikTok. We need to get you guys over there more.
That's because Joe races with no clothes on.
And I do. And last night I was showing my nipple piercings, and people really seem to enjoy that.
Yeah, that's about as bad as Rex Ryan's toe fetish. I just don't know what to do with that.
Why? Because I have nipple piercings?
I think we got to end this.
Yeah.
I think we got to end on that one.
I'm starting to get
It's 2025, guys.
Hey, I'm sorry.
2024, Joe. This would be okay. 2025. It's getting.
I'm not getting rid of my nipple piercings. I don't care what you guys say.
And on that, with our brilliant, wonderful person in the chat, I don't know what to go with that. Guys, we'll be here for Daytona next week. We got the duels. We got all kinds of stuff coming up. So thank you again for joining us. We'll be doing our picks again. I'll be putting out the information for the Stuck in the Catch Fence NASCAR FanDuel League. So if you guys want to do that as well, all kinds of stuff. So again, thank you guys.
Win, so
that is not going to happen. But
I just got to make sure I always fill out my bracket.
Yeah, there you go. You got to actually do your lineup to win it. So, Travis Butt, Joe Spillman, my name is Ryan Peters. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.